Hello and welcome to Awaken Empower TV. I'm your host, Ethan Fox, and today I have a very special show with Dr. Edward Group, who is quite well known in the alternative healing fields and is the health expert on the Alex Jones Show. Dr. Edward Group III actually founded Global Healing Center in 1998 and currently serves as Chief Executive Officer. At the forefront of the research and development team, Dr. Group assumes a hands-on approach, producing new and advanced degenerative disease products and information. Under his leadership, Global Healing Center Incorporated has earned recognition as one of the largest alternative natural and organic health resources on the internet. Dr. Group has studied natural and alternative healing methods for over 20 years, including naturopathy, herbology, nutrition, and chiropractic. Though he no longer sees patients individually, he believes his personal mission is to help the world by teaching and promoting philosophies to the global community that produce good health, clean environment, and positive thinking. He has written books on body cleansing, intestinal detoxification, and weight loss, and published many articles on numerous health subjects, all aimed to provide the readers with information on how to restore health and improve vitality by treating the underlying cause of many diseases, removing the accumulated toxins from the body. You can learn more about Dr. Group at his website at globalhealingcenter.com. Thank you for joining me, Dr. Group, for another episode of Awaken Empowered TV. It was a pleasure to have you and your wife at our recent expo this past April. So thank you so much for your generosity and for taking time to be here today with me as well.
Well, you're welcome. Thanks for having me out at the expo. It was really an exciting experience and very, conscious lifting experience as well.
Yeah, everyone really enjoyed your talks, and I do want to get into some of those in a few minutes. But first, we did speak prior on an interview for Awaken Empower Radio, but this is a little different audience, and I'd like to, if you could speak a little about your journey in this life and from your childhood, any interesting experiences or life-changing experiences you had, and also, did you know at that young an age that you were going to head in this direction, and what? I know you had some interesting experiences as a child that you came to realize your uniqueness in this life. So if you can speak a little about that and how that led to the work you're doing now.
Well, my dad was a chemist, and he was actually one of the developers of Saran wrap and a developer of PVC plastics. So he was really involved with his research. So he graduated from Columbia University, and I can remember as a child growing up in a middle class American family. I was born in Houston. And had a good time as a child, except I do remember, really kind of having outer body experiences, having vision sometimes, and didn't really understand it. I kind of felt like I was living half in a spiritual realm and half in the physical realm. Of course, back then, that was in the early 70s. I was born in 1968. That was right when psychiatry was coming into play, and I mean, my parents and most parents were smoking and drinking all day long, and they didn't really have an understanding about what could be going on inside your mind. And now we're just learning about consciousness, and we're learning about rainbow and indigo and crystal children and these spiritual children that are being born in. So I didn't even know what was going on. And this went and carried on all the way through high school. And as a matter of fact, I was brought to psychiatrist after psychiatrist after psychiatrist from the time I was 7 all the way up to the time I was 15 for counseling, just because it was hard. I was very popular, but it was hard for me to understand. I didn't like school. I always felt that I was being taught the wrong information. I always felt that a connection to God or a universal force that was out there, a connection to nature. I always loved animals. I couldn't understand why animals were being kept in zoos and stuff like that. But I really didn't, I couldn't talk to anybody. I mean, I was having a hard time understanding who I was and why all this stuff was happening to me. And I knew I wanted to do something with helping people or changing the earth or doing something like that, but I didn't know really what I wanted to do. I went into the military after high school. After that, I got out of the military, and I really wanted to. I was in school, transferred. I was studying kinesiology, then decided to study law for a while. Then, I was one of those long-time college students for 12 years, trying to figure out what I wanted to do, because I would get bored with things very easily, which is another sign of any type of spirituality, or a sign that we're seeing today in children. They get bored very easily until they find something they're passionate about. And so I finally decided that I wanted to go into medical school and become a heart surgeon. And I don't know where that came from, but, I was passionate about it. And then before I started, really getting everything together to take the initial tests and look at the different medical schools and stuff like that and finish up some of my electives, I met a guy who was treating cancer naturally. And I talked to him, and he said, you're really going in the wrong direction. In the future of medicine is going to be natural medicine. It's not going to be allopathic. And I said, well, we have the best scientists in the world, prescription medications, we're treating everything. This is the way that I was taught. This is the way that all the books are teaching, and this is the way that I want to go, because, how could they be wrong? How can pharmaceutical companies be wrong? How can all the doctors out there be wrong? So he said, okay, take any pharmaceutical that you like and tell me how it does any good in the body. So I went and started doing some research and looking at breaking down the pharmaceutical and trying to figure out what it was actually doing in the body. And it only took me 2 or 3 hours to realize that the whole medical system is just treating the symptoms and not the root cause of the problem. Because what I saw, which I recommend any medical doctor do, which they're not doing, is to actually look at the biochemistry and break down these pharmaceuticals, because then you'll clearly see that you're suppressing a system in the body, you're covering up a system in the body, you're altering a system in the body, or you're poisoning a system in the body. And not only that, you're going to get 5 or 6 additional side effects happening from that medication. Now, that doesn't mean you can't use medications for short-term use if you absolutely have to, but what I realized, and my eyes became open. I thought my eyes were already open. I just didn't understand what was happening to me. But this really was the life-changing moment in my life that happened. Most people say a life-changing moment doesn't really take that long. This life-changing moment took 3 hours, and it completely changed my whole life. I went back to him. At that point in time, I was driving back, and I just started crying, and it almost felt like my hands came off the wheel of the car, and I must have been driving for miles, and then all of us, I could just see the future. Just see that everybody had a self-healing mechanism within their body, and that it was just being suppressed, and it was damaged by chemicals and toxins and everything in the environment. And that people the best healing medicine was within us. And when my hands came back on the wheel, I went to him, and I had this like extraordinary brain power or something. I could just go through books and books and books just soak up the knowledge. It's almost like if you're so passionate about something and you love something and you just know it's true, you can learn it so fast. And I just read so many books on all the different types of natural healing. Then I started going to chiropractic college. I knew that was very important, that the spine needed to be adjusted and functioning correctly. Went to all the different types of naturopathic physician schools, studied about business, and our goal was to open up a cancer clinic. I mean, really what our goal was, as we started doing the research into the root cause of all disease. And now, unfortunately, there's two categories. There's disease and there's mental illness. And the medical profession has divided and split into two. So all the people out there suffering from depression, anxiety, bipolar, any of the diagnoses and on any type of psychiatric medication, that's one branch. And then the disease branch, the degenerative disease branch, is the other branch. It doesn't matter what branch you're on. All disease, all mental illness, what we found in our research stems from one thing, and that's too many chemicals and toxins coming into the body on a regular basis and not enough toxins going out of the body on a regular basis. And so that was kind of it sounds simple, and it is simple because everything is in simplicity. But that's what led us to opening up our clinic and really going back to the basics of cleansing the body. And the more that we did that, the more that we cleansed the body and we eliminated the source of the chemicals and the toxins that people were exposed to. And of course, we supplemented some of the things that everybody is deficient in. The body would be able to start healing itself again, and the self-healing mechanism would become activated once again. So that's what's really led us up to this point. And what our mission is now is to just teach people that everybody has a self-healing mechanism and teach people the root cause of their disease, dis-ease, or their pain or their suffering or their mental illness or whatever, and how they can address that, not with medications, but address it with changing their environment, changing the internal structure of their body, and cleansing their body and reactivating their body's self-healing mechanism.
I'd like to come back to the self-healing mechanism in a few minutes, but carrying forward on your life journey, I know that you're was it great-grandson of Noah Webster, right?
Like great grandson of Noah Webster, the one that wrote the Webster's Dictionary. Yeah. And it even goes deeper than that. It goes back to Noah Webster's great grandfather, which was Pelatiah Webster. And I was shocked to find this out when we started doing history on our family, but Pelatiah Webster was the original writer of the U.S. Constitution. And his name is not to be mentioned, but we found articles from, I can't remember, down in whenever the Constitution was written in the 1800s or whatever, that shows Pelatiah Webster as the original author of the Constitution. So my family lineage goes back all the way to the writers of the U.S. Constitution originally. So, unfortunately, also, Noah Webster was a high-level Illuminati and Mason, and the Masonic Code and the Illuminati Code was written inside the Webster's Dictionary. So I have a lot of history of both bad and good in my family, but you know how that is. Everything has to balance itself out. It's the yin and the yang, and everybody's family, whether they know it or not, is pretty much like that. It's the cycle of life. And so the cycle that we're on right now is for me to do as much good and to help as many people as we can, and to help clean up and bring awareness as an activist to the problems that we're dealing with today, whether it's plastics or whether it's GMOs or the chemicals in the air, the food, the water, the beverages, and we are actually making a difference these days.
So you mentioned that the Illuminati, the code was written into the Webster's Dictionary. How is that? I've never heard that before.
Well, I didn't know that either until I read a book by Leonard Horowitz called Healing Codes of the Biological Apocalypse. And he has a section in that book which actually explains how to break the codes in the Webster's Dictionary. Or it's not really breaking the codes, but there's a system that they go by to, if they want to send a message And it's very interesting. And you can actually pull that up online if you type in Google Horowitz hidden codes Webster's dictionary, because I tried it one time. So you can pull it up and actually go through the dictionary, and certain words lead you to other words, which you can decode messages through the dictionary. And they knew they could do that because everybody has a Webster's dictionary. So it was easy for them to communicate in secrecy just because they had the ability to use the dictionary.
And because of your lineage, I know that you've had some experiences with the Illuminati in your life, and where you had the choice to follow that path of your family lineage, but you, from what I understand, chose a different path. Can you tell that story, and why did you choose the path you did?
Well, as we were studying the root cause of all disease, it leads you down a few other paths. I mean, when you're looking at, let's say, the toxicity of aluminum or fluoride or any of the chemicals or toxins that we're exposed to, and you do more research and you follow the history of fluoride, or you follow the history of any of the chemicals that are designed to create illness in the body and poison the air and the water or whatever, it leads down a road that most people would not go down. And every road leads somewhere. And what we found was there are certain groups and organizations that have been around for a long time that are trying to suppress and keep information out of the Bible. That are everything that you look at in your life, from the food that you eat to the air that you breathe, there's some link to organizations that have altered it or poisoned it somehow or another for their own use, or for profit, or some other form of control mechanism. So as I was doing the research and going back and further, we were finding and stumbling upon all of this information. And at the time, we had a cancer clinic. We were so successful using these programs that we were actually raided by the FDA and shut down, and our files were taken. And it was right after that where we had been receiving death threats. I'd been receiving death threats and basically told I couldn't do this in this country. That this was, by the way, I didn't know about the lineage at this time. And all of a sudden, this guy started contacting me out of the blue. I just call it Men in Black, just because it's almost like the movie. And then all of a sudden, he asked me to come with him, picked me up in this black car, a Lincoln Town car, blacked out windows, took me to a undisclosed location in the Houston area. When I walked in, it was strange because I saw a bunch of pictures on the wall, and it wasn't a fancy restaurant or anything like that. It was actually a Chinese restaurant, a fairly, popular one. And I saw pictures of the presidents of the United States, all, senators, famous people on the wall. And I was thinking, that's strange. Here, who would come to this Chinese restaurant? I mean, in Houston. But anyway, apparently it's some secret meeting place, and the wall opened up and we went back through, and they knew all about me. They knew about my lineage and everything. And I guess that's one of the reasons why they have remote viewers. And I mean, basically what I was told was, later on when I declined by someone else, I was told that they saw what we were going to do in the future, and they were trying to prevent me from doing all the good that I was going to do in the future. So they wanted me to come join them, and basically said I would have an unlimited bank account. I mean, as much money as I needed. They would just keep putting it in. I would have, I think it was 20, I can't remember. It was either 24 or 48 hours, I think. And they gave me a number and said, you'll be taken care of. We'll make you a senator. So I remember asking, I was like, well, how are you going to make me a senator? That doesn't They said they'd make me a senator within 6 months somewhere. I don't know where, but I said, well, I don't know. How are you going to do that? And they said, well, we put everybody into office. So they gave me a number. They said, you'll have one chance. This is the only time we're going to give you this chance in your life. You'll never hear from us again. If you call the number, we'll send somebody over to pick you up. You'll come with us and you'll be initiated into the whole group. If you don't call the number, that's it. We'll never contact you again. This is your only chance. So of course I didn't call the number, and I just basically ripped up the piece of paper and threw it away, because I'm on God's mission. I mean, God's mission is the only mission that I'm going to fulfill on this planet. I've always known that there's a higher source guiding me and guiding this whole mission to help. We're in a very good time period right now. I mean, we're seeing a lot of change happen. There's also a lot of negative that's going on right now as well. But that was the story about that. And I haven't heard, the FDA does come in my office on a regular basis, maybe once every 6 months. But I haven't heard anything from that group ever again. And we've been trying to fulfill and educate people and tell the truth. And that's what it's all about, till we raise that conscious level so everybody, like the 100th monkey phenomenon, just knows.
Yeah, it's a very interesting story. I want to come back now to the health. So you were speaking earlier about how all health issues are really the result of toxicity in the body that we're not getting rid of, including psychological issues. So can you elaborate on that a little bit? What kind of toxicity? I know there are a lot of chemicals in our environment, in our water and so on, obviously chemtrails and fluoridation and quite a few things, but can you speak a little bit more specifically about the things that you think are the biggest issues in our environment that result in toxicity, and what can we do to alleviate or remedy those things?
Well, that's exactly what we were focusing on, because we wanted to identify the toxins. First, we found out that everything is caused by chemicals and toxins coming in. Step number 2 was to identify those chemicals and toxins that we're exposed to on a daily basis. And the first thing we looked at was air. What I'll do is kind of go over each category, and then not just talk about the toxins, but also give solutions of what people can do, easy solutions to actually avoid the chemicals and the toxins and to clean up the environment. So air is very important. We take 30,000 breaths every single day, and we need to be breathing in oxygen. Unfortunately, indoor air is even more toxic than outdoor air, and we're living in a world that is polluted. We have fossil fuels. We have chemtrails being sprayed everywhere, which are high levels of aluminum nanoparticles, strontium, barium, a slew of chemicals that are being sprayed down upon us, which are altering the soil. We have mold, mildew, dust mites in the homes. We have volatile organic compounds. So the air quality is, we might be taking in 200,000 toxins on a daily basis just from the air that we're breathing. So the solution to that is, the first thing we do is recommend everybody put in an air purification system or plug-in units in their home and in their office. And we use the ones by RGF, which are called the REAM units, REME units, which I personally think are the best, and so does the Chinese government, because they commissioned a study to find the best air purification systems, and they actually chose, believe it or not, a company in the U.S. that manufactures them. And then the second thing people can do, and anybody can do this right now, is to go to a local nursery, because everywhere is different. Some plants grow, you're going to have different plants in the New York area than you are in California, than you are down in Florida, and purchase, you can do this over time. Just start putting one plant. Really, you want 3 plants in each room, especially bedrooms where you sleep, because that's going to clean the air. And the family rooms and the kitchen and stuff like that. You want to put plants in your indoors. what plants are going to do is they're going to clean your indoor air. They actually absorb toxins from the air, and then they emit oxygen. So they also absorb carbon dioxide. So really, you're using nature inside your house to clean your air so you can breathe clean air. So there's not much you can do when you're outside, obviously, but what we're really focusing on is cleaning up the air inside your house. Another thing you can do is not use a bunch of chemicals, spraying a bunch of chemicals in your home. Do not paint your walls with VOC or outgassing paints. But the easiest and simplest way to do it is just putting plants in your house, reducing all the chemical exposure inside your home, and putting air purification systems in your house. So that would be air. The next thing that we looked at was the food. And what we looked at that was the main cause of disease and mental conditions was the GMOs in the food, the genetically modified organisms, gluten, which we now know everybody is allergic to and actually creates opiate-like responses in the brain and has been linked to depression, anxiety, ADD, ADHD, autism-like symptoms, as well as a whole host of gastrointestinal illness and symptoms. So we also looked at dairy, the contaminants and hormones in meat, really just broke down all the different food products out there, you know, microwave food, canned food, the BPA in that, and realized that on average, people are really putting in their system a massive amount of chemicals, herbicides, insecticide residue, and toxins from the foods that they eat. And that's contributing to a toxic overload. And each one of these categories, all it's doing is suppressing and suppressing and suppressing your body's self-healing mechanism. And it's causing blockages of your elimination route, so you're not able to eliminate the chemicals and toxins fast enough. It's all about the root cause. The root cause of all disease and mental conditions is nothing more than the chemicals in the air and the food, etc. So what is the solution to the chemicals in food? Well, the best and easiest solution is to start eating organically certified stuff. That way you're avoiding the pesticides, avoiding the insecticides, avoiding the genetically modified compounds. You're pretty much eliminating the majority of the toxins by doing that. Also, you're avoiding the high fructose corn syrup. You're avoiding, well, I always recommend everybody throw out their microwave and start cooking their own food and eating more live foods, because life equals life and death equals death. That means if you're eating live foods, your body's going to be getting all those good electrons from the foods. It's going to be nourished properly. If you eat dead food or cooked food, your body's going to have a harder time breaking that food down, and it's going to be causing more damage in the system. So really with food, the solution is to eat as clean and as organically as possible so you can avoid the amount of chemicals and the amount of toxins that are coming in. And food is a subject we could talk all day on, because each category can be broken down into subcategories and subcategories and subcategories. But the general rule with food is avoid GMOs, avoid gluten, avoid artificial sweeteners, avoid anything artificial or any type of chemicals. If you don't know what it is when you're reading the label, then don't buy it. Or educate yourself, which is another thing. You know, people need to be educated on what they're actually putting in their body. So after food, we started looking at beverages, because really we're just looking at what is someone, the average person, exposed to on a daily basis. You know, the air and food. And then the next thing is we started looking and watching people. And if you go to a restaurant, what are you going to see people drinking? They're going to be drinking tea. They're going to be drinking a cola, some sort of a carbonated beverage, energy drink, coffee, or wine or alcohol. Very rarely do you see somebody drinking water. And if you do, they're going to be drinking tap water. So we realized that people are consuming a massive amount of toxic beverages. So we looked at the tea out there. Well, tea is made with tap water in restaurants. So not only that are you getting a lot of chemicals and toxins in the tap water, but most of the tea that the restaurants use is contaminated with heavy metals and arsenic and everything else. All the energy drinks, the canned drinks are in aluminum cans. The alcohol we now know is an endocrine disrupting chemical. So there is no beverage out there really, except fresh juices and water, that's actually good for you that you can drink on a regular basis. I mean, if you look at the way the body is designed, really the only thing that we need or want after we're done breastfeeding is water. So, as we're documenting all this stuff, we're realizing the amount, the extraordinary amount of all these chemicals and toxins that people are exposing themselves to, and that was just with air, food, and water. We watched people put 10 bags of NutraSweet or aspartame or Splenda or any of these artificial sweeteners in their drinks, which in itself is one little bag can contain 10 to 15,000 harmful toxins. So after we looked at the beverages, then we moved on to water because we realized that most beverages are made with water, and we started looking at how important water is in the body. Looked at Masaru Emoto's work with water on how water changes with thought and with different types of frequencies it's exposed to. Water really is the key to life. It's what holds and carries all your nutrients. It's what helps the communication between your cells. And we looked at how much water are people consuming? What type of water are people consuming? And we found that water is contaminated. It's all the tap water, which contains fluoride, arsenic, chlorine, prescription drug residue, phthalates, all the plastics, a bunch of different types of chemicals that aren't even identified, DDT, rocket fuel. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And mostly endocrine disrupting chemicals from the glyphosate and the atrazine and all the GMO and the pesticide, insecticide residue that's draining into the water supplies everywhere. So water, we found, was a huge issue that we had no idea about, because the deeper we got into it, the more we found that the water supplies are becoming more chemically tainted and contaminated everywhere, even the aquifers underground. So what do we do? What's the solution for water in beverages? I mean, well, for beverages, the solution is don't consume any of those beverages anymore, and just try to hydrate your body more with water, a good source of water. And that's the same solution for water as well. I mean, you'd be surprised how many chemicals and toxins you can take away from going into the body on a daily basis by just drinking juices, fresh pressed juices, and water. Now, you can also drink herbal teas from time to time, and you can have your occasional, certified organic coffee if you want. I mean, anything in moderation. This is another thing that we found that was very interesting. Only when you start bombarding the body with the same thing over and over and over is when it becomes a real problem. Anything in moderation the body can deal with. So it's not like restricting. It would be really hard to restrict everybody on the planet from all the toxic food, all the toxic water, all the, everything that they've become accustomed and addicted to doing. So it's not about that. It's about small changes lead to big changes. Let's say today you're going to drink 2 more glasses of purified water, and you're going to reduce your daily intake of those 2 diet drinks by 2 drinks today. You've already made a huge difference in your body. You've already reduced a lot of chemicals and a lot of toxins from just 2 cans of artificial sweeteners and all the other chemicals in diet drinks that you're consuming. I mean, diet drinks are addictive. And I mean, we know people that call in that drink 6, 12 a day of diet drinks. So it's all about reducing your daily intake and slowly replacing those drinks and foods and stuff with organic or natural replacements. Even if you go to an organic food store and you get a natural cola, let's say, that has organic cane sugar or organic agave nectar, and it has, organic ingredients in it, it's still better than the chemical toxic one. So it's making decisions based on you're reducing your chemical load every single day so your body can actually deal with it, and your self-healing mechanism is not so suppressed, and it's raised to a level where your body is not constantly just overwhelmed with things. So for water, the solution for water, what I recommend everybody do is, I mean, you can buy your own distillation unit. Durastill makes a good one. I think their cheapest unit is somewhere around $300. They might even have one that's cheaper than that. And you can distill your own water. I mean, you can distill water from the tap and run a tube down into a 5-gallon glass bottle, the one that you turn upside down and put on your water dispenser, and make your own water right at home. And that's all you need. Water, most people don't know, and this is a big secret with Nestle and all the chemical companies out there that have they're trying to buy up all of the water sources right now, because water, they make more money on water than they do on oil and gas. I mean, the amount of money that it takes them to drill for oil. And if you look at a gallon of gasoline compared to a gallon of purified water, water is more expensive, and they can make more money on water than they can on gas. And they know that, and it's a racket going on right now. So my advice is just get your own distillation unit and make your own water. Now, when you use or when you drink distilled water, it is a kind of what they call a dead or inactive water. So what we do is we reactivate it with a little certified organic raw apple cider vinegar, which you can get an 8-ounce. These are easy, simple, cost-effective home remedies. Certified organic raw apple cider vinegar has been used and is great for over 100 different ailments in the body, and you can use that just putting a small amount in your distilled water, and that reactivates and brings the water back to life. Another thing some people can do is put a pinch of Himalayan crystal salt in their distilled water, and that will actually activate it and bring it back to life. So that's the solution that we recommend for the beverages and the water. And then the next thing that we found that was really shocking to me as the deeper that we got into it, we realized how much of a problem this actually was, is people are chronically infested with microbes, parasites, if you want to call them, which is anything that lives and breeds off of a host mechanism that causes harm. And so that was kind of the next category, which was microbes or parasites that we found, which was causing a depletion in your body's self-healing mechanism and causing an accumulation of toxins in the system, because all the parasites, fungus, mycoplasms, bacteria, viruses, it doesn't matter what organism it is. It's any organism that lives off your body that secretes chemicals and toxins when they go to the bathroom. And usually those toxins are going to be your formaldehyde, isopropyl alcohol, just very acidic compounds that are going to turn your body fluids into an acidic instead of an alkaline state. So the solution that we came up with for addressing the microbes in the body was taking oregano oil, which works really good for a majority of the smaller microbes, colloidal silver or nanoparticle silver, which is extremely effective for microbes. Some of the larger worms in the body, we want to use blends like Paratrex for that includes black walnut hull, clove, wormwood, American worm seed. Those are just a few things that work really good to help eliminate some of the worms, or even very cost-effective methods of using like diatomaceous earth. That works good. So a combination of addressing and cleansing all those microbes out of the system is what you want to look at for, especially with the fungus that we're dealing with now. We have a fungus among us, and that's really the two things that work good on that are silver and oregano oil. So those are the solutions for the parasites, or really, I call them harmful organisms, the harmful organisms in the body, and how you can eliminate those. I mean, even just a 1-inch piece of sushi can contain up to 10,000 different larvae, parasite larvae. So the next categories that we looked at on the root cause of disease, one was, these aren't external sources coming in, but these are kind of internal sources that people are dealing with, is blocked neurological feedback systems. And that means any type of car accident or neurological damage you might have had, obesity, anything that's going to cause your spine to move out of position. I didn't I am a chiropractor, and we learned a lot about the spine in chiropractic college, but I didn't realize the deep connection to detoxification, cellular cleansing, the energy value that goes to all the different organs in the body, and how important the spine was in activating the self-healing mechanism. And so I highly recommend everybody go find a good chiropractor and get their spine adjusted, maybe once a month, once every couple of months, because you really need to have, your spine is basically your antenna that goes down the body, and every single organ, the nerve that goes to that organ or that system comes from the spine. So it's really important to clean up the neurological system and make sure the neurological system is functioning. And you can all do that also. I highly recommend acupuncture, massage, all the alternative healing arts out there. I mean, I'm not just saying there's one thing that's good for everybody. There are plenty of different methods, from energy medicine to spiritual guidance to hands-on healing. I mean, find a natural practitioner, find multiple natural practitioners. Everybody specializes in one thing. Somebody might be a Reiki master. Somebody might be a spiritual healer. Somebody might be specialized in chiropractic. Somebody might specialize in acupuncture. Utilize what you have available in your area. It's all good, and it's all going to help bring the body back into balance. But there's one thing that needs to be done regardless of what you're going to choose. And if you don't cleanse your body really, really good and stop putting the negative toxins and chemicals into your body, those are only going to be temporary fixes. I mean, because you're still not addressing the root cause of the problem. So, and most of the good practitioners will also tell you or incorporate detoxification and cleansing strategies into their practice. So those are the majority of the categories. The only thing that I did leave out on there was addressing the stress and the electromagnetic frequencies that we're exposed to. And those are kind of one categories, because electromagnetic frequencies actually cause stress. It causes you to be in a sympathetic state all the time. And right now we're exposed to so many through cell phones, through cell phone towers being close to your house, electrical lines, fault lines, smart meters. Electromagnetic frequencies are all around us these days. And so I highly recommend people look. I actually wrote an article after 3 or 4 months of research that I'll be happy to share with everybody. It's on our website, globalhealingcenter.com. On just typing in EMF in the search bar, you can pull it up, and it's research on how you can protect yourself, your house, and block all the electromagnetic frequencies from the smart meters and everything else, including cell phones for that matter, and protect yourself as much as possible from the damaging effects of EMFs. So all of those things, everybody needs to look at what they're exposed to on a daily basis. And this really is the secret to health, is cleansing your body on a regular basis. And that means intestinal cleansing, liver and gallbladder cleansing, kidney cleansing, parasite cleansing, and chemical and heavy metal cleansing. And we can go into details on those if you'd like. But it really is a simple solution if you think about it, because it's the information that most people and most doctors are not going to be taught, and they're not going to teach you. But it's something that we spent 15, 20 years trying to teach everybody about the root cause of why everybody's sick. And we used to ask people all the time that came into our clinic, can you tell us why you have cancer? And these are people that had been to some of the top doctors in the world, 10, 15 different doctors. And they would say no. And we would ask them, well, didn't any of the other doctors that you've seen explain to you why you have cancer, or why you have diabetes, or why you have heart disease? And they would say, no, nobody ever explained to me why I have the condition that I'm suffering from, or for that matter, depression, anxiety, ADD, ADHD, bipolar. And no one had explained to them why they had that condition or what the root cause of that condition was. And so we would say, they would always say, well, come in with a bad attitude, say, what are you going to do that none of the other doctors did? And that's why I would say, well, let me explain to you. Did any of the other doctors tell you why you have the disease you have? And then that's when they would say no. And I would say, well, don't you need to understand why you have the illness before you understand how to fix the illness? Because you're the only one that can fix your own illness. You're the only one that can activate your body's self-healing mechanism for good. We can all help you out, and we can help you activate it and push you along the way, but ultimately, you're responsible for your own health. It's not like I'm going to go build a house because I don't know how to build a house. I'm not in construction. I'm not a general contractor. If I learned how to build a house, then I would be able to build a house. Well, health is the same way. You need to learn about what damages your health, learn about how to fix your health, and then you can learn how to become healthy.
I'd like to back up to you mentioned the Rheem filter early on. Have there been any studies done on that as to whether or not it will remove the chemicals from chemtrails?
I don't think that there's been any studies on chemicals from chemtrails, but the way that it works is through ionized hydroperoxides. And if you study any chemical or any tiny nanoparticle of a metal or anything that would be in chemtrails, you'll see that a negative ion in general will neutralize pretty much any chemical or any toxin thrown at it. The only thing I could see that if they were spraying like reactive, like real stabilized reactive oxygen species or some sort of reactive chemical species, it would still have a neutralizing effect because it is an ionizing hydroperoxide. So I would say that in your home, especially if you have good filters, that even if your home was sucking in from the outside any type of chemicals from the chemtrails, if you did have one of those units, the good thing about it is the unit is actually located in the HVAC system itself. So as the air gets brought in from outside and it goes into the air conditioning system and gets cooled, before it even goes out to your house, when it goes through the plume, before you have all of the individual all the individual tubes going to all the rooms, that's where that's one of the things I like about the ream unit is that's where where it hits the purified ionized hydroperoxides. So actually it goes into all of the tubing right at the unit. So as it goes through, then it comes down into your home. So it would be purified before it even came down into your bedroom, let's say. Now, who knows what all they're spraying? I mean, we've only identified a small number. I mean, people have identified dried human blood in chemtrails. I mean, RNA, DNA fragments. I mean, you have Morgellons out there, which are strange, weird organisms, almost alien-like, that we haven't even been able to identify. So, you know, who knows about all those things? It's just you do the best that you can for what you have. And the whole purpose is try to eliminate as many chemicals and toxins from coming into your body so your body can deal with this attack. I mean, we are definitely under an attack from every different angle. And we're not the only ones suffering. The earth itself is suffering. The plants are suffering. We have 200 species of plants going extinct like every week. It's a collective consciousness. The whole earth, the universe, everything, from the whole galaxies all the way up to all the different spiritual levels, all the way up to the creator. If you feel an effect down here, it resonates everywhere. So that means that as we become sick, so does the earth. And as the earth becomes sick, so do we become sick. And the good thing is the earth cleanses itself or tries to cleanse itself naturally. And animals do too. But what's missing is we're not cleansing ourselves on a regular basis like we should. We're taking a shower to rinse the chemicals off our skin, but we're not cleansing the inside of our bodies on a regular basis.
Now, you've been married for how long?
Going on 19 years, I think, right now. I think next year is going to be my 20th.
Yeah, I had the opportunity to meet your wife at the expo. I'm wondering, what role do you think having a secure, loving, and supportive relationship has in not only health, but also the level of success that you've achieved in your life in all areas?
Well, a relationship is work just like any other job, and most people forget that. And they live their life going to work, and they spend out of the 12 hours or 16 hours that they have during the day, they only have a certain amount of time, usually in their relationship with their partner. And think about all the work and hard effort you put into your job every single day. And I ask people that question, how much hard work and effort do you put into your relationship? And most of it's shocking for them. It's almost like, what? That requires work too? It does. And I attribute to the success in my relationship to the work that I put into the relationship. And I think that I don't think there should be relationship counselors out there and you need to wait until it's too late. There's plenty of videos you can pop in every night about how to strengthen your relationship, different ways and methods. It's work. You need to constantly grow in your relationship. I think every married couple or every relationship should have a relationship coach. It's so much easier for someone else to kind of mediate and to teach you. And why not? It's a school. Nobody goes to relationship school, but everybody's different. A male and a female, or just the way you think, is going to be different. And it's really what I think the success to a good relationship is. Let me tell you, cleansing number one. Because when your body and your mind and your soul is cleansed and you can meditate and you're in a calm state and your mind is not messed up from all the chemicals in your body, your self-confidence is not down. You're not overweight. You're not walking around depressed and anxiety or, all these different types of conditions, or one person in the relationship has these conditions. That's a big thing too. But I've seen just couples going through cleansing programs where they've cleansed their body and all of a sudden there's a sparkle light that comes up, and they're a completely different person. So that's why I'm really big on cleansing for everything. And I think that, the best thing couples can do is cleanse their bodies on a regular basis, and work on their relationships. And don't feel like, counseling is bad, and don't wait till it's too late. There's plenty of stuff out there that can teach people. There is no book or any school out there for marriage, because you can't do that. Everybody's different, right? I mean, depending on, their personality, everybody's raised different. What is out there is, which needs to be out there, is relationship coaches. Not somebody saying, not so you need to say, hey, we have problems in our relationship, but hey, we want to work on our relationship. We want our relationship to be better. We want our marriage to grow. You need to be going up the relationship path or stairs every single day, and creating a better relationship, instead of staying stagnant or going down the relationship stairs every single day.
Now you've got 2 children, right?
I have 2 children, yes. 2 boys, 8 and 6, delivered both of them at home, natural birth. They've been on an organic diet. They've never eaten meat in their life. They're just as strong, just as fast as any other kid out there. Very intelligent, very spiritual. They, when they have anger, or they, they go through the traditional things or episodes that a normal child goes through, instead of being disciplined and put down, they go through learning how to deal with their emotions, which is either meditation. Sometimes they'll go out and hug a tree for 10 minutes and become one with the earth, and let the earth deal, and let the earth calm them down naturally. So I think that in the future, some of these things should be taught, instead of, helping them deal and understand the emotions that they're going through, because all those are normal. It's normal for children to go through phases of anger, hyperactivity, all that. They're a child. They're learning about the planet. They're learning how to adapt to this planet, coming from a highly pure spiritual realm down into something that is, the majority is negative and entities and energies here. And it's really hard coming from a high energetic level down to a lower energetic level. And that's another reason why with children, they're very sensitive to gluten, MSG, food dyes, vaccines, all these chemicals and toxins that they're being exposed to or injected with, which are altering their DNA, calcifying their pineal gland, and suppressing the genius that they're born in with, and the potential that they have to change the earth is being suppressed with all these chemicals.
Yeah, I'd love to elaborate on that next time when we have a little bit more time, because you did give a talk about raising conscious children at our expo, which I think was very fascinating. And but could you maybe tell us? I know we had so many subjects that I'd love to elaborate further on, but maybe you could tell our viewers where they can find some of your products and learn more about the different cleanses you mentioned in this conversation.
Yeah, thanks. I wrote a book that put everything into perspective and basically just took all the information and research that we've accumulated over the years, and it's called The Green Body Cleanse. Anyone can go online and get that. I also highly recommend you watch the Secret to Health video. It's a DVD, but it's also on YouTube. You can watch, which really incorporates the problems and the solutions, or the situations and the solutions, on how you can change your life, reactivate your body's self-healing mechanism. Or you can just get a wealth of information and learn about the cleansing programs that we put together, with the intestinal cleansing program, the liver and gallbladder cleansing program, the parasite cleansing program, the chemical and heavy metal cleansing program, and the home cleansing program, how to clean your home of harmful chemicals and toxins. All of that information is on our website at globalhealingcenter.com, globalhealingcenter.com. And thanks for having me on. It's always a pleasure, Ethann, to be on your show and just to be associated with you guys who are also doing such a fabulous job changing the planet. And it's great to be able to just come together, because right now, I think everybody needs to come together, help each other out, and really make and educate people on the shift that's happening as we go into the golden age.
Great. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's been a pleasure having you on the show, and hopefully we can speak again sometime soon about kids and what we can do to support them as well. Well, I hope you enjoyed the show today with our two incredible guests. Join us next week on Awaken Empowered TV as we explore the amazing things happening in the world and the people behind the scenes who are working tirelessly to change the world.